5.0 Security Fundamentals. A. Define key security concepts, threats, vulnerabilities, exploits, and mitigation techniques. Vulnerabilities, exploits, threats, and mitigation techniques are the most commonly used security terms. Security professionals use these terms to identify the following things: weak points of the network that can be used to break into the network, tools that can be used to find weak points, persons or programs that break in, destroy, steal, or modify something without permission, tools and techniques that can be used to fix weak points. The term vulnerability refers to a weak point of the network that can compromise the security of the network. The term exploit refers to a tool that can be used to find a vulnerability in a network. The term threat refers to a person or a program that uses exploits and vulnerabilities to break into the network. The term mitigation technique refers to a tool or a technique that can be used to protect the network or weak points of the network. Vulnerability. A vulnerability is any weakness, known or unknown, in a system, process, or other entity that could lead to its security being compromised by a threat. In the children's tale, the first pig's straw house is inherently vulnerable to the wolf's mighty breath, whereas the third pig's brick house is not. In information security, vulnerabilities can exist almost anywhere, from hardware devices and infrastructure to operating systems, firmware, applications, modules, drivers, and application programming interfaces. Tens of thousands of software bugs are discovered every year. Details of these are posted on websites like v.mitter.org and nvd.nis.gov, and hopefully, the affected vendors' websites, along with scores that attempt to assess their severity. 2. 3. Responsible vendors typically publish patches in a timely way to correct specific known vulnerabilities. However, that doesn't guarantee that organizations using those vulnerable products will apply the patch. In fact, some of the highest-profile attacks and data breaches have occurred in organizations that did not patch vulnerabilities that had been known about for years. 0-day refers to a newly discovered vulnerability for which a patch does not yet exist. Threat. A threat is any action, event, occurrence, circumstance that could disrupt, harm, destroy, or otherwise adversely affect an information system, and thus, an organization's business and operations. Viewed through the lens of the CIE triad, a threat is anything that could compromise confidentiality, integrity, or availability of systems or data. Except in cases of natural disaster such as flood or hurricane, threats are perpetrated by threat agents or threat actors ranging from inexperienced, so-called script kiddies to notorious attacker groups like Anonymous and Cozy Bear, also known as APT29. Threats can be intentional or accidental and come from internal or external sources. In The Three Little Pigs, the wolf is the obvious threat actor. The threat is his stated intention to blow down the pigs' houses and eat them. Exploit. Used as a verb, exploit means to take advantage of a vulnerability. Used as a noun, an exploit refers to a tool, typically in the form of source or binary code. This code makes it easy for threat actors to take advantage of a specific vulnerability and often gives them unauthorized access to something, a network, system, application, etc. The payload, chosen by the threat actor and delivered via the exploit, carries out the chosen attack, such as downloading malware, escalating privileges, or exfiltrating data. In the children's tale, the analogies aren't perfect, but the wolf's mighty breath is the closest thing to an exploit tool, and the payload is his destruction of the house. Afterward, he hoped to eat the pig, his secondary attack. Note that many cyberattacks are multi-level attacks. Exploit code for many vulnerabilities is readily available publicly on the open internet on sites such as exploitdb.com as well as on the dark web, to be purchased, shared, or used by attackers. Organized attack groups and nation-state actors write their own exploit code and keep it to themselves. It's important to note that exploit code does not exist for every known vulnerability. Attackers generally take the time to develop exploits for vulnerabilities in widely used products and those that have the greatest potential to result in a successful attack. So, although the term exploit code isn't included in the threats X vulnerabilities equals risk equation, it's an integral part of what makes a threat feasible. Mitigation, or attack mitigation, is the reduction in severity or seriousness of an event. In cybersecurity, mitigation is centered around strategies to limit the impact of a threat against data in custody. Threats against data can come from outside attackers motivated by profit, activism, retribution, or mischief. Insider threats may have the same motives but could be tied to workplace issues resulting in people abusing their access privileges to inflict harm. In either case, it is the responsibility of a data owner to protect data from misuse, disclosure, theft, unauthorized exposure, wrongful transmission, and so on while still making the data useful and available to conduct business. To that end, a mitigation strategy should be strict in accordance with risk appetites and realistic enough to allow for the licit use of the data by those authorized. Mitigation strategies are used by many companies and public sector entities to isolate and minimize the damage or impact of a threat until a problem can be countermeasured. As such, these strategies vary. However, the National Security Agency (NSA) of the U.S. government utilizes a list of its top 10 cybersecurity mitigation strategies: update and upgrade software, immediately defend privileges and accounts, enforce signed software execution policies, exercise a system recovery plan, actively manage systems and configurations, continuously hunt for network intrusions, leverage modern hardware security features, segregate networks using application-aware defenses, integrate threat reputation services, transition to multi-factor authentication. B. Describe security program elements: user awareness, training, and physical access controlled. The 5 elements of a successful security awareness program: education on the different types of cyber threats, spam, email, internet, social media, and privacy policies, secure password policies combined with multi-factor authentication, threat recognition and response training, regular vulnerability testing, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, also known as the CIE triad, is a model designed to guide policies for information security within an organization. The elements of the triad are considered the 3 most crucial components of security. Confidentiality is a set of rules that limits access to information. Integrity is the assurance that the information is trustworthy and accurate, and availability is a guarantee of reliable access to the information by authorized people. According to Cisco, security solutions for an organization may be broadly divided into 3 categories. These are: A. Physical security. The following form physical security: 1. Security cameras and other monitoring devices. 2. Security personnel. 3. Climatic controls for proper temperature, humidity, etc. 4. Physical barriers. B. Administrative security. The following form administrative security: 1. Maintaining logbooks. 2. Screening employees and security personnel. 3. Maintaining security policies. 4. Security awareness programs, etc. C. Logical security. 1. Authentication systems. 2. Firewalls. 3. Encryption schemes, etc. The following are the iOS-based security features. 1. Stateful inspection. Perform stateful inspection using context-based access controlled (CBAC). 2. Virtual private networks, VPN, provides tunnels for virtual private communication. 3. Intruder prevention system, IPS. Cisco iOS may be configured to detect an attacker and prevent him from proceeding further and report the same. 4. VPN routing and forwarding. Aware Firewall. A VRF-aware firewall maintains a separate routing and forwarding table for each VPN. 5. Note that ACS stands for Access Control Server and MARS stands for Monitoring, Analysis, and Reporting System are separate software entities and not a feature of Cisco iOS. C. Configured device access control using local passwords. The most basic level of security you can configure on a Cisco iOS device is a password. When this is done, a password is assigned to allow access to the privileged global configuration mode and to protect initial entry to the user mode of the iOS. D. Describe security password policies. Elements such as management, complexity, and password alternatives, multi-factor authentication, certificates, and biometrics. E. Describe remote access and site-to-site VPNs. Configure and verify access control lists. Access control lists, ACLs, are a collection of permit and deny conditions, called rules, that provide security by blocking unauthorized users and allowing authorized users to access specific resources. ACLs can also provide traffic flow controlled, restrict contents of routing updates, and decide which types of traffic are forwarded or blocked. Normally ACLs reside in a firewall router or in a router connecting to internal networks. You can set up ACLs to control traffic at Layer 2, Layer 3, or Layer 4. MAC ACLs operate on Layer 2. IP ACLs operate on Layers 3 and 4. To configure ACLs: 1. Create a MAC ACL by specifying a name. 2. Create an IP ACL by specifying a number. 3. Add new rules to the ACL. 4. Configure the match criteria for the rules. 5. Apply the ACL to one or more interfaces. 5.7. Configure Layer 2 security features, DHCP snooping, dynamic ARP inspection, and port security. DHCP spoofing attack: an attacker configures a fake DHCP server on the network to issue IP addresses to clients. DHCP snooping: switch process that monitors DHCP traffic, filtering out DHCP messages from untrusted sources. Typically used to block attacks that use a rogue DHCP server. Only allows offer messages to come in a trusted port. 5.8. Differentiate authentication, authorization, and accounting concepts. What is AAA? Authentication, authorization. What is AAA? Authentication, authorization and accounting. AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting framework is used to manage the activity of the user to a network that it wants to access by authentication, authorization, and accounting mechanism. AAA uses effective network management that keeps the network secure by ensuring that only those who are granted access are allowed, and their activities, while in the network, are also monitored and logged. AAA uses methods to challenge whoever wants to have network access by asking them their authorized and authenticated credentials to prove that they are legitimate users before gaining access to the network. AAA is widely used in network devices such as routers, switches, and firewalls, just to give a few, to control and monitor access within the network. AAA addresses the limitations of local security configuration and the scalability issues that come with it. For example, if you need to change or add a password, it has to be done locally and to all devices, which will require a lot of time and resources. Having an external AAA server solves these issues by centralizing such tasks within the network. Having backup AAA servers in the network ensures redundancy and security throughout the network. Describe wireless security protocols: WPA, WPA2, and WPA3. WPA3, Wi-Fi Protected Access Version. WPA3, Wi-Fi Protected Access Version 2. WPA3, Wi-Fi Protected Access Version 3. Configure WLAN using WPA2 PSK using the GUI WPA2 PSK configuration with CLI. This example describes the procedure to use the command line interface, CLI, in order to configure DHCP snooping for the VLANs that are used for clients. VLAN20 is used for clients, and the pool is configured on the same WLC. The TENGIGABITETHERNET101 from the Cisco 5700 WLC is connected to the uplink switch. If the DHCP server is configured on the server beyond the WLC or on an external DHCP server, you must trust DHCP snooping and relay information. IP device tracking, IP DHCP snooping, VLAN 12 20 30 40, IP DHCP snooping, IP DHCP pool, VLAN 20, network 20.20.20.0 255.255.255.0 default router 20.20.20.1 interface, VLAN 20 address 20.20.2.1 255.255.255.2 interface, TENGIGABITETHERNET101 switch port trunk native LAN 12 switch port trunk IP DHCP relay information trust of DHCP snooping trust 1 WB2 PSK 1 WB2 PSK client LAN 20 no security pack and DOD1X security pack and PSK ZKSK 0 CISCO 123 no shutdown.